Trust, one of the nation's largest registered investment advisors. CapTrust counts among its clients numerous pro athletes and pro sports franchises, but most importantly serves many Northern Californians through comprehensive financial planning. Here's Kelly Brothers.
Okay, can I just say, and I'm not mad at it, it should be this way. Kelly has the best intro of any of us.
He does. Like, that is well deserved, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Kelly's a legend in this market.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're still up and comers. We're trying to figure out. We're the lowly radio people. Kelly's got the TV intro.
Yes.
Good morning,
Kelly. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
We have a lot to talk about. The world of sports business. I know this. I know that it's a good business to get in usually, unless you're trying to start a competing football league or something. You see the money that these folks are making time again. We talked last week, though, about the Pac-12, really now like the Pac-2 and soon to be the Pac-0. What a glorious beginning, though, for Jason Ross's Pac-12.
Well, yeah, no, this is this is like the, you know what this is for the Pac-12? This is on the 4th of July when you have that last major explosion of fireworks.
Yes.
That's what this is, because they are going out with a bang. If you look at the top 25, SC at 5, you got UW at 8, Utah 12, Oregon 13, Oregon State at 16. Of course, Colorado, which is with a bullet at 18, Washington State 23, UCLA 24. 8 teams in the top 25. When was the last time that happened? And that includes, the 2 orphans, the 2 schools that were still standing when the music stopped. Washington State and Oregon State. So, another interesting, guys, because I love the way politics enters into this as well. Yesterday, the esteemed legislature of California here, they rescinded a law which was going to become very awkward for them, and that was that no state dollars could be spent in 26 states that have laws that we don't agree with for whatever reason. And we're the only state that does this. We're the only state that cancels other states like this. But it was getting very awkward when you had, you have Cal moving to the Big Ten, having to travel to Indiana, Iowa, Missouri. Cal going to the ACC, traveling to North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. And you had UCLA going to the Big Ten, and we'll have to travel to Indiana, Iowa, and Missouri. And all these states are on our list of deplorables. Well, that was rescinded yesterday. So at least that hurdle has been cleared.
Kelly, as you mentioned the Pac-12, all those teams, you did mention Colorado, and there's nobody hotter than that program, than Deion, what he's done. I know it's in its infancy, but what would be the deep dive on the financial impact? You got ESPN Game Day going to be there. Fox's big NFL or big college show there. Everybody wants a piece of Colorado. Tickets are out of this world, sell out. What is your best guess of what that financial impact is for that program?
That it is almost impossible to add up these days, mainly because of NIL and the fact that Shedeur is already number 1 across all of college football in terms of NIL bucks, nearing $4 million this year. So, I think your best evidence of all this is, can you imagine, there's a room at all these college football games. There is a room where the potential recruits and their families go. And for example, last week, Miami had an unbelievable crop at their game. And that coach is doing a great job. But that to me is kind of the evidence that this could continue beyond some flash in the pan, that you're going to get these incredible athletes who never, ever would have considered Colorado before, who want to go see these games, who want to be in Deion's presence. It is transformative for Colorado, and kudos to them. A great hire. Guys, by the way, I was just looking at the TV numbers for last week. Yeah. Make no mistake about it. Football is still king, and Deion's Colorado Buffaloes, they got as many viewers as Texas Alabama did. They both were up around 9 million viewers across the country. That is still less than half what some games got on Sunday and
Sure.
Monday night at 22 million for the Jets game, which obviously had a terrible turn 4 plays in. But make no mistake, when you look at those numbers and realize that Monday night game got 10 times the viewership of what the U.S. Open men's final got, you have a sense of how football is still king in this country.
Kelly Brothers with us. And Kelly, this is also, I think, based on our conversation last week about the future of college football and perhaps forming a super league. I almost feel like Colorado is a microcosm. It's a petri dish of what could happen. We've never seen anything like this before. The ability to turn over almost the entire roster in a year. We're not going to have Deion Sanders and a former college superstar and NFL superstar have a son that's going to be a quarterback all the time, but the nuts and bolts are there where you could see a future where you do have rosters changing, where you do have programs rebirthing. And all you have to do is look at, you talked about the coverage, College Game Day, Fox's Big Noon Kickoff, First Take, now the Pat McAfee Show, and 60 Minutes will all be out at Colorado this weekend for Colorado State. We're not talking USC yet. We're not talking Oregon. We're talking Colorado State. No offense to them. I feel like this should show a lot of folks with a lot of dollars and a lot of vision that now imagine multiplying this by, 29, 30 teams for a super league. You truly have not a competitor to the NFL, but a true companion to the NFL that would probably be the second biggest sport ahead of baseball, ahead of basketball, the second biggest sport in the United States.
I agree, Dave. I think it already is. And then you take that number, Dave, and you say, and I've seen these numbers for a few schools, but what happens to the giving to your school when your football team is doing well? It goes up by 5 to 10 times from a lot of alums. And we make jokes about these college coaches bringing in $7-8 million a year. Deion Sanders could make a case that he is worth $50 million a year to Colorado. Easily. And so that's what has to, so as those numbers kind of trickle out and as he attracts better and better crops of recruits, there's no doubt about it. It could be. So far, I got to be honest with you, they haven't figured it out. It just is weird to think of Cal playing most of their games in Carolina or Florida. That just doesn't feel it doesn't feel like it's going to garner the regional attention that great regional rivalries have. They haven't figured it out, but if they could, you're right. Take what they have now and exponentially it would be even more lucrative.
Kelly, you mentioned the two orphans, right? That's what Washington State and Oregon State, kind of a victim of just their location. They're just smaller markets than every other Pac-12 team. They're left behind. What's your best guess? A lot of people talk about them joining the Mountain West, maybe the Mountain West trying to become a Pac-10, 12, whatever. That's still messy. That's not cleaned up. What happens to those two schools, you think?
I don't, and thank goodness they're having great years, both of them. They deserve it. And, let's face it, small towns being in a small town has never harmed college football teams. As a matter of fact, I've always thought it was additive because in these small towns, there's not much else going on. East Lansing, right. Michigan, South Bend, Indiana, Athens, Georgia, whereas USC could be playing great, but they might not even sell out a Saturday game against Oregon State, even if they're in the top 5 in the country. So the being small has never been really that detrimental to some of these colleges. But I just hope that there's an adult in the room who stands up and says, hey, let's rethink this. I know there's a lot of money tied to this, but if we do it right, there will be more money in everyone's pocket. So let's rethink this and come up with some sort of a Power 5 league where we can make some sense of the scheduling and still lead to a championship. That's my hope anyway.
I love this topic too, because we need somebody to step up, somebody that is I don't know why Peter Uberoth just ran into my head, but going old school, somebody who is about as universally respected as you can get this day and age, and really pitch not just what we've been talking about, but also the other possibilities are just too mouthwatering to me, because you're going to have billions and billions of more dollars that come in. So what do? Everybody makes their money. But now all of a sudden you come up with parameters where X percent of those monies go towards your non-revenue sports, your women's rowing, your men's kayaking, your diving, your gym, whatever it is, to help lift up some of those. God forbid you actually have other scholarship programs or tuitions that are subsidized and come down to a lot of these schools. I really think you could cut off 10, 15, 20% of the revenue for all these schools and trickle them down. I know that's a bad term, but trickle them down into a fund where you're going to have not just college football players and the suits benefit from this, but these colleges and ultimately the students and the other athletes that could also get a piece of the pie here, and everybody wins.
Absolutely. I mean, that football has always paid the freight for 15 other sports. And that's great. I mean, we saw recently what happened with Nebraska, where they built over years a non-revenue sport into a sport that could attract 92,000 people to a stadium to watch one match. And that's volleyball, women's volleyball. So, and some of these sports take time. Lacrosse has come up significantly across the country. Women's basketball as well, not to mention, it funds, in a lot of schools, it funds basically the activities fund for all the other students. I mean, I think I mentioned, maybe I can't remember if it was here or not, but at Notre Dame, they had full tackle intramural football. And that was on a lit field, and that was funded by the football team. So it has carried the water, and it can carry the water even more for the school, for the non-revenue sports, for the general students, and for the athletes themselves. Can you imagine a pool, with a formula kicked in based on whether you graduate, how many years you spend at the school, but where, the second string offensive lineman might get a little check when he leaves the school. So there's a lot there, guys. The other money issue, Dave, and I want to get your opinion on this, is the cries that are coming now in the NFL for turf, for grass over turf, after what happened to Aaron Rodgers. I just find it, yes, these turf fields are 100% better than the turf of the 1970s, which was basically green cement. But, when you look at what Real Madrid did with their field, which is, watch the YouTube video. It is an unbelievable field, which can be pulled off and goes into an underground chamber with UV light and water, and is perfect for every match. Because obviously you can't do in New York and Philly and Boston what you can do in Arizona, where you pull the field outside and let it bake in the beautiful sunshine. You can't do that, but there will be more calls for that, I think, no matter how good turf gets.
I think it goes back to, and this is, this may be something for next week we can get into deeper, because I think it's a deeper conversation. Jason and I talk about it all the time, Kelly. This is because in the America's biggest sport, the biggest money maker there is, they have the weakest union. They've always had the weakest union. They're the only major sport not to have all guaranteed money, but it's the most dangerous sport. Their union's terrible. It's always been terrible. There's no excuse. The money is there for all grass fields. And Jason, as we talk about one quarterback that went down with the New York Jets, thank God there's another quarterback that's playing on grass every week, and that is the very cheap Brock Purdy.
Yeah, so Kelly, that's a good tie into that. Look, this team looked awesome in week one, but financially they're in really good shape going forward too, aren't they?
Well, they are, even though they're paying, highest paid running back, highest paid, Nick Bosa, highest paid defensive player ever. You go down the list, but Brock Purdy at a cap hit of $890,000 is a pretty good screaming deal. As a matter of fact, I mean, think about Brock Purdy at $900,000 versus Patrick Mahomes at $40 million cap hit this year. Think about that leverage to spread that money out to some of your other players. Sam Darnold has a $5 million cap hit. So to think that your backup has a cap hit 5x what your starter has, Purdy is incredibly valuable, not just as a player, but given the fact he has a rookie contract and he's under their control for another almost 3 years.
This would take the rest of the show, Kelly, but I just want to throw some names at you, and I think you all know where I'm going here. Skylar Thompson, Logan Woodside, Bailey Zappi, Sean Clifford, Clayton Toon, Mason Rudolph, Blaine Gabbert, Hendon Hooker, Easton Stick, CJ Beathard. That's just a handful of the many, 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 many quarterbacks currently being paid more than Brock Purdy's $934,000.
And here's the thing. Brock Purdy does not yet feel underpaid. He will. He will. But here's the upside for Brock Purdy, and we have to remember that he was the last pick in the draft. He was Mr. Irrelevant. But you know what happens when you're the last pick in the draft? You're going to a good team.
Yes.
And Brock Purdy, on some lesser team would just be Brock Purdy. But he has a chance to be something very, very good. Not, obviously it's a marriage of system and coach and player. But hey, guys, quick trivia question. You ready for this?
Sure.
5 schools have graduated. Well, have graduated a U.S. president and a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Ooh.
Can you give me 3 of them?
I'll give you Michigan.
Correct. Gerald Ford and Tom Brady.
Notre Dame?
Only if you include President Bartlett from the West Wing.
Damn it. And that's my favorite president of all time. Okay. Yes.
UCLA.
No, but there is one on the West Coast, Jason.
Stanford.
Herbert Hoover and John Elway and Jim Plunkett all went to
Stanford. Okay.
I'll give you another hint. One of the academies.
West Point.
Incorrect. That would be the Naval Academy with Jimmy Carter and Roger Staubach.
There's got to be an Ivy in here.
There's not an Ivy. However, the last 2 left. One of them joined only in the last few years, and it was. You're not going to get this one because of the president. It is the University of Delaware with Joe Flacco.
And Joe Biden.
And then the last one, I asked my brother-in-law this question, and he got all of them right except for the last one, which was his alma mater, Miami of Ohio.
Oh, wow.
Robert E. Hayes and Big Ben Roethlisberger. So you can impress your friends with that one at the next party.
That is great.
That's a good
so
one.
just to recap here, hold on. So you got Stanford on one side, Michigan on one side. You added Delaware.
Yeah.
You added Miami of Ohio. What was
Navy?
And Navy.
Naval Academy. Now, if you really want to make it tricky, you say elected president, and then you drop Michigan because Gerald Ford was never elected president.
He was never elected vice president. Wasn't he? What was
it? Anyway, I just had to.
That's a good one.
Well, and I say it's 6. I think you added Josiah Bartlett. That's just me personally. Either way, Kelly, we appreciate you talking to you each and every week.
Good to see you guys. Thank you.
All right, take care. That is Kelly Brothers.
Good.
Join